This happened 8 months ago. I didn't tell anyone about it at the time. Not my friends, not my coworkers, not even my sister. And she's the kind of person I usually tell everything to. Mostly because I wasn't sure if it was real. And when you're not sure something is real, saying it out loud makes it feel ridiculous. I had just moved into a new apartment complex downtown. One of those sleek, minimalist buildings with gray walls, tall glass windows, and that artificial citrus smell in the lobby that's supposed to feel clean but just feels sterile. 14 floors. That's what the leasing agent told me. 14 residential floors, secure underground parking, rooftop access closes at 10. 14. I remember that clearly because I'd specifically asked for something higher up. I like being above street level. Makes the city noise feel distant, manageable. I ended up on the 11th floor. At the time, I was 24, working late shifts at a design firm that paid just enough to keep me exhausted, but not enough to quit. I was sleeping maybe 4 hours a night, living on coffee, constantly feeling like my brain was buffering. That's important, because I spent weeks convincing myself that what happened was just fatigue. The first night it happened was completely ordinary. I got home around 1:30 a.m. The lobby was empty. No security guard at the desk. He usually stepped out around that time. The lights above the reception counter buzzed faintly. Somewhere outside, a siren wailed and faded into the distance. I pressed the elevator button. It arrived almost immediately. That should have been my first clue. In this building usually waited at least a minute, sometimes 2, but the doors slid open right away. Inside, the lighting seemed slightly dimmer than usual. Not flickering, not broken. Just softer. Like the brightness had been turned down by 10%. I stepped in. The doors closed. I pressed 11. The elevator began its ascent. The movement felt normal, smooth, quiet. 10, 11. I waited for the usual soft chime. It didn't come. Instead, the elevator kept moving. I frowned. Maybe someone above had called it first. Okay. Now I knew something was wrong. There was no 15th floor. And then I saw it. Below the G button. Below the parking level. A button I had never noticed before. 1. It was illuminated, soft white glow. The elevator gave a faint, mechanical hum, lower than before, and then I felt it. The shift. Instead of going up, it was going down. But we were already at the top. My stomach dropped slightly, the way it does when an elevator descends too quickly. I stared at the panel. No one else was inside. No one had pressed anything. Okay, I muttered to myself. Glitch. The screen above the door flickered. 14-1-3-1-2-1-1-0-9. We were descending. Too smoothly. Too steadily. It passed the lobby level. G. The doors didn't open. Then it passed the parking level. 1. Still didn't stop. My throat tightened. The number display blinked once. And then -1. The elevator slowed. There was no chime. Just a long, tired, mechanical exhale. The doors slid open. And there was nothing, not darkness, not a hallway, just a dim, concrete corridor stretching forward under a row of weak fluorescent lights. The kind of lighting that makes everything look gray and lifeless. I stood frozen inside the elevator. I don't know how long. 10 seconds. Maybe 30. There was no sound. No ventilation hum. No distant machinery. Just silence. The air felt heavier. Cooler. Like a basement that hadn't been aired out in years. This building doesn't have a -1 level, I whispered. I had memorized the floor plan when I signed the lease. There was parking, storage, utility access, but no -1. The doors remained open. Waiting. And that's when I noticed something else. There was no door close button lit anymore. Only 1 and G. I pressed G. Nothing happened. I pressed it harder. Still nothing. The panel didn't even light up. The only illuminated button was -1. As if we hadn't arrived yet. As if this wasn't the destination. That's when I heard it. A sound from the hallway. Not footsteps. Not exactly. More like movement. A faint drag. Soft. Slow. Somewhere beyond the light. I didn't think. I hit the emergency button. Silence. No operator voice. No static. Just dead air. The elevator lights flickered once. The hallway lights flickered in response. And then a shadow moved across the far wall. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just enough to know it wasn't mine. I slammed my hand against the door close, button out of instinct, even though it wasn't lit. The doors began to slide shut. On their own. As the gap narrowed, I swear I saw something at the edge of the corridor. Not a person, not fully formed, just a shape. Taller than normal. Standing perfectly still. Watching. The doors closed. The elevator jerked upward suddenly, hard enough that I had the panel numbers climbed rapidly. -1 P1G5 81011. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. My floor. Normal lighting. Normal hallway. Carpeted. Clean. Quiet. I stepped out slowly. Half expecting something to follow. Nothing did. The doors closed behind me. And when I looked back at the panel through the narrowing gap, there was no -1 button. Just GP1. 1 through 14. I stood there for a long time. Listening. The building was silent. No alarms. No voices. No sign that anything had happened. I went to my apartment, locked the door, and told myself exactly what you're probably thinking right now. You were tired. You imagined it. Elevator. Glitch. Wrong building schematic. Brain playing tricks. I repeated that to myself until I fell asleep. And for 3 days, nothing happened. For 3 days, nothing happened. And that's almost worse than when something does. Because when nothing happens, your brain starts rewriting the memory for you. By the 4th day, I had almost convinced myself it was exhaustion. I'd been sleeping better, eating better, even avoiding late-night caffeine. The elevator worked normally every single time. Up to 11. Down to G, no mysterious buttons. No -1. I even checked the building directory posted near the mailboxes. Lobby parking, level 1 floors 1 to 14 rooftop. Locked after 10 p.m. That was it. No hidden basement level. No restricted floor. No fine print. I almost laughed at myself. Almost. Then Friday night happened. I got home late again. 1:47 a.m. I remember the time because I checked my phone twice while waiting for the elevator. The lobby felt colder than usual. The citrus scent was gone. Instead, there was a faint metallic smell. Not strong, just enough to notice if you were alone and paying attention. I pressed the elevator button. This time, it took longer. 30 seconds. 40. A full minute. I considered taking the stairs, but 11 floors after a 12-hour shift sounded like punishment. Finally, the elevator arrived. The doors opened slowly. Too slowly. The lights inside flickered once before stabilizing. I stepped in, pressed 11. The doors closed. The ascent began. 3, 5, 8. Then it stopped. Between floors. The lights didn't go out. The elevator didn't shake. It just stopped. I felt that strange weightless sensation in my stomach. I checked the display. It was blank. No numbers. Just a dark screen. Great, I muttered. Perfect. I pressed the door open button. Nothing. I pressed it again. Still nothing. The air inside felt suddenly thinner, like the ventilation had cut out. Then the speaker above me crackled. A sharp burst of static. I froze. Elevators aren't supposed to make noise unless someone from security is speaking. More static, then a voice. Very quiet. Distorted. Double quotes. Not alone. I swallowed. What? I said instinctively. Static again. Then clearer this time. You are not alone. My heartbeat slammed against my ribs. This isn't funny, I said, louder now. If this is security, open the doors. Silence. Then a soft sound behind me. I turned. The elevator was empty, completely empty. But the mirror at the back of the elevator showed something else. For a fraction of a second, there were two reflections. Mine, and something standing directly behind me. Tall. Head, tilted slightly. Too tall for the ceiling. The lights flickered. I blinked. The reflection was normal again. Just me. Alone. I spun around anyway. Nothing. The speaker crackled one more time. Between. The word echoed faintly, as if coming from far away. Then the display lit up again. 9, 10, 11. The elevator resumed moving as if nothing had happened. It stopped on my floor. The doors opened. Normal hallway. Warm lighting. The faint smell of someone's late-night cooking drifting through the air. I stepped out slowly. Before the doors fully closed, I glanced back at the panel. And there it was. Just for a second. Below G-1. The button wasn't glowing. It was just there, like it had always been part of the design. Then the doors slid shut. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I did something I should have done earlier. I searched the building's address online. Most of it was standard. Real estate information. Built 8 years ago. Renovated lobby 3 years ago. No major incidents. No scandals. No lawsuits. Nothing strange. Until I scrolled further. Buried in an old forum post from 9 years ago. Before the renovation. Someone had written, "Anyone know why they sealed the lower level?" That was it. No replies. No explanation. Just that single comment. Sealed the lower level. Lower level. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the screen. Maybe there used to be a basement. Maybe it flooded. Maybe it was unsafe. There were rational explanations. There are always rational explanations. But none of them explained the voice, or the reflection, or why I felt deep in my chest that the elevator hadn't malfunctioned. It had paused. Like it was waiting. And then I remembered something else. When the voice spoke, it didn't sound automated. It sounded close, like someone standing just out of sight. And I couldn't shake the feeling that when it said, "You are not alone," it wasn't talking about the elevator. After Friday night. I stopped taking the elevator after midnight. At least, that was the plan. For the next few days, I forced myself to use the stairs. 11 floors up, 11 floors down. My legs burned every morning, but it felt safer. Stairs are predictable. Elevators aren't. I started noticing small things. People in the building didn't talk much to each other. That wasn't unusual for a city apartment complex, but there was something else. A kind of shared avoidance, especially at night. One evening, around 10 p.m., I ran into my neighbor from 1B in the hallway. I'd seen him before, mid-30s, quiet, always wearing headphones. Pale in a way that suggested he didn't leave the building much. He was standing near the elevator. Just staring at the closed doors. "You waiting for it?" I asked casually. He flinched, like I'd startled him. "Oh, yeah, I guess. You guess?" He hesitated. Then he looked at me in a way that made my skin tighten. "You live on this floor, right?" "Yeah, 1A." He nodded slowly. "Has it stopped for you?" My mouth went dry. Stopped? Between floors. The hallway suddenly felt smaller. I studied his face, trying to decide if this was some elaborate joke. "I don't know what you mean," I said carefully. He held my gaze for a long second. Then he leaned slightly closer and lowered his voice. "If it opens," he said. "Don't step out." My pulse kicked up. "What opens?" He glanced at the elevator display, then back at me. "You'll know." The elevator DINGED. Both of us flinched. The doors opened. Normal interior. Bright lighting. He didn't move. Aren't you getting in? I asked. You go first. There was something in his tone. Not fear exactly. More like resignation. I stepped inside slowly. He followed. The doors closed. I pressed. 11. He didn't press anything. The elevator started moving. 5. 7. 9. It stopped at 10. The doors opened. No one was there. We both stared into the empty hallway. The lights flickered once. Then the doors closed again. We continued upward. When we reached 11, I stepped down. He stayed inside. The doors began to close. Just before they sealed shut, he said, "It doesn't like when you ignore it." The doors slid closed. I stood there in the hallway long after the elevator left. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't the only one keeping track. So, I started paying attention. I noticed that after midnight, the elevator took longer to arrive. I noticed that sometimes, even when no one pressed the button, it would descend to the lobby on its own. And once, just once, I saw it open in the lobby at 2 a.m. No one got out. No. One got in. The doors just opened. And then closed. As if someone invisible had stepped through. That was the night I decided to test something. I stayed up until 1:55 a.m. I went down to the lobby. The building was silent. I pressed the elevator button. It arrived almost immediately. The doors opened. Dim lighting, softer than usual. I stepped inside. I did not press 11. Instead, I waited. The doors closed on their own. The elevator did not move. 5 seconds passed. 10. Then the display flickered. We were going up. I hadn't pressed anything. 13. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. The top floor hallway stretched out before me. Empty. Still. Lights here were colder than on my floor, almost bluish. I didn't step. The words echoed in my mind. If it opens, don't step out. The doors stayed open longer than usual, long enough to make me uncomfortable, long enough to make me feel like something was standing just beyond the threshold, waiting for me to make a decision. The air outside the elevator looked thicker, not visibly, but the space felt heavier. Then, from somewhere down the hall, I heard it. A faint dragging sound. Slow. Deliberate. Moving toward the elevator. My chest tightened. I pressed the door. Close button. Nothing happened. The doors remained open. The dragging sound grew louder. Closer. I could almost picture it now. Something tall. Something moving. Carefully. The lights flickered. The dragging stopped. And then a voice. Not from the speaker this time. From the hallway. Soft. Almost curious. You came back. My heart pounded so hard, I thought I might black out. The doors finally began to close. Slowly. Painfully. Slowly. As the gap narrowed, I saw something at the end of the hall. A silhouette. Too tall. Head slightly tilted. Watching. The door shut. The elevator dropped. Not smoothly. Not steadily. It fell. My stomach lurched as the numbers on the display glitched wildly. 1492 GP1 and then -1. The lights went out. Total darkness. I couldn't see my own hands. I could hear breathing. Not mine. Slow. Measured. Close. Very close. And then, right beside my ear. You shouldn't have tested it. The lights snapped back on. The elevator was at G. The doors opened to the lobby. Empty. Silent. As if nothing had happened. But when I looked at the panel, the -1 button was glowing. And this time, it wasn't alone. There was another button beneath it. 2. The next morning, 11B was empty. Not he moved out. Empty. Not door open. Boxes in the hall. Empty. Just gone. I noticed it on my way to work. His doormat was still there. His name was still printed on the tiny metal mailbox downstairs, but his door had something new on it. A small white paper. Tape that eye level. No letterhead. No official stamp. Just typed text. Unit under maintenance. Do not disturb. Stood there longer than I should have. I knocked. No answer. I pressed my ear lightly against the door. Nothing. No movement. No sound. No breathing. That night, his mailbox was empty. Completely empty. Like it had been cleared out. I asked the leasing office the next afternoon, "Hey, what happened to the guy in 11B?" The woman behind the desk blinked at me. "There's number 11B, she said politely. I felt my throat tighten. "Yeah, across from 11, dark hair, headphones, kinda quiet." She turned her monitor slightly toward herself and scrolled. "We only have one active lease on the 11th floor." "That's you." I stared at her. "That's not possible." She smiled the way people do when they think you're mistaken. "The building layout only allows one unit on that side of the hall. You must be thinking of a different floor." I wasn't. I knew I wasn't, because I could still see the indentation in the carpet where his doormat had been. Except when I went back upstairs, the doormat was gone. The paper sign was gone. And there was no second door. Just a blank stretch of wall, like there had never been an apartment there at all. I didn't sleep that night. At 2:03 a.m. The elevator dinged. I know this because I was sitting on my couch, staring at my front door. Waiting. The sound echoed faintly down the hallway. No one had called it. No footsteps followed. Just a ding. Then silence. 5 minutes later, another ding. Closer. I stepped into the hallway. The lights were dimmer than usual. The elevator doors were open. At the end of the hall. Waiting. The interior light was softer again, almost gray, and I could see it clearly now. On the panel, 1 - 2 - 3. They weren't there before. I was sure of it. My chest tightened. The elevator hadn't added floors. Randomly. It was going deeper, like it was building something, or remembering something. I walked toward it. Slowly. Every step felt wrong, like I was approaching an animal that had decided not to run. The doors remained open. I stopped a few feet away. The air inside felt colder. Heavier. I didn't step in, but I leaned slightly, just enough to see the panel clearly. The G button flickered once. Then turned off. The only illuminated buttons were the negative floors. A low hum filled the hallway. Not mechanical. Not electrical. Something resonant. Like a distant choir holding a single note. And then I heard it again. The dragging sound. But this time, it wasn't coming from outside the elevator. It was coming from below. From the shaft. Something moving upward. Slowly. Floor by floor. The display above the door flickered. -3 pause. -2 pause. -1 The hum grew louder. The dragging stopped. The elevator doors began to close, but not fully. They stopped halfway. As if something was blocking them. The lights flickered violently. I could feel it now. Not see it, but feel it. Something standing inside. Just beyond the narrowing gap. The doors tried to close again. Pressed inward. Then slowly forced themselves shut. The elevator didn't move. It stayed on my floor for almost a full minute. Then the display changed. It hadn't left. It was still here. The doors opened again. Interior was empty, but something had changed. The back mirror was gone. In its place, a dark vertical seam, like two metal panels pressed together. Not part of the original design. A door Inside the elevator, I stepped back. The seam split open slightly, not fully. Enough to reveal darkness behind it. A depth that didn't make sense for the size of the shaft, and from inside that darkness, whisper, "Help me." It was his voice. The man from 11B. Controlled. Almost. Tired. I stepped down. The voice continued softly. "Don't do it." My pulse roared in my ears. "You're not him." I whispered. The whisper shifted. Changed. Lower now. "It keeps what leaves." The seam widened another inch. The hallway lights dimmed. The air pressure changed. "Like before a storm. You opened it," the voice said. "So it opened you?" My vision blurred slightly. The elevator panel flickered. 4 appeared. Below. -3. I stumbled backward. Elevator doors slammed shut violently. The hum stopped. The hallway lights stabilized. Silence returned. But something felt different. Not in the building. In me. Like a door had opened somewhere I couldn't see. And now it knew the way back. That night, I dreamed of the lower levels, concrete corridors, fluorescent lights humming overhead, doors lining the walls, each labeled with apartment numbers. 11, B.10, C.7, A. Doors that didn't exist anymore. Doors that once had. And at the end of the corridor, an elevator. Doors opened. Waiting. After that night, I stopped pretending it was a malfunction. The building wasn't broken. The elevator wasn't glitching. Something had been sealed, and it was reopening. Slowly. Intentionally. Over the next week, more things changed. The lobby directory flickered sometimes. Just for a split second. Between parking and floor 1, I would see it. Sub-level access. And then it would disappear. The security guard stopped making eye contact with me. One night, I asked him directly, "Has this building always had 14 floors?" He looked at me for a long time. Too long. Then he said quietly, "Depends which direction you're counting." I didn't ask again. It happened for the last time on a Tuesday, 2:17 a.m. I remember the time because I woke up to the sound of the elevator dinging. Over and over. And over. Not moving, just dinging. I opened my apartment door. The hallway lights were dim, almost pulsing. The elevator doors were open. At the end of the hall. The inside was darker than I'd ever seen it. Not broken. Just deeper. Like the light wasn't reaching all the way in. I didn't want to move, but I knew something. If I ignored it again, it would keep coming closer. It had already erased 11B, already added floors, already learned my voice. So I walked toward it. Slowly. The display above the door wasn't showing a number anymore. It showed a word. Musted. Air felt heavy again. Cold. Pressurized. I stepped inside. The doors closed immediately. No hesitation. The panel lit up. 1, 2, 3. -4, -5, -6. The list extended downward. Further than before. More than should physically fit in the building. The elevator began descending. Smooth. Controlled. The numbers ticked down slowly. 1, I didn't look at the mirror. There wasn't one anymore. 2, the hum returned. That resonant tone. Like distant voices layered together. 3, the lights flickered once. 4, I felt it beside me. Not touching. Just occupying the same space. -5, the breathing. Again. Slow. Measured. -6, the elevator stopped. No chime. The doors slid open. The corridor stretched out before me. Concrete, fluorescent lights, identical to the one I had seen the first night. But this time, the doors were labeled apartment numbers. Some I recognized. 7A, 10C, 11B. I stood frozen. Each door had a small metal placard beneath the number. Inactive. Except one. At the very end of the hall. A door with no number dot, just a blank plate dot. The whisper came from everywhere dot, not one voice dot, many dot, layered. You stepped out. I shook my head. No. You came back. The door at the end of the hall creaked open slightly. Inside darkness, but I could see something faint on the wall. A number dot fading in slowly dot 11, a dot. My chest tightened. That's not real, I said dot. The whisper softened, almost comforting. It keeps what leaves. Behind me, the elevator doors remained open. Waiting dot, patient dot. I understood. Then dot, it wasn't trying to drag me out dot, it wasn't chasing dot, it was offering. The building had more floors than people dot. It needed occupants dot. When someone stepped beyond the threshold, when someone acknowledged it, they became part of the structure. A sealed level dot, an erased unit. Memory rewritten. The hallway lights flickered. The number on the blank door grew clearer dot 11, a dot. My apartment dot, my floor dot, my space recreated below. The whisper shifted again. Now it sounded like me dot, calm dot, tired. You're already between. The elevator behind me chimed softly, a reminder, choice. I stepped backward dot, slowly dot, carefully dot, keeping my eyes on the door. The whisper grew louder. You opened it. Another step back. The air pressure shifted. You came down. Another step. The elevator threshold touched the back of my heel. You belong here. And that's when I understood something else dot. It couldn't pull me in. Not fully. Not unless I walked through that door. Not unless I accepted the floor it made for me dot. The elevator lights flickered. The hum intensified. The door labeled 11A opened wider dot inside. I could see my couch dot, my kitchen counter dot, my hallway. Perfectly. Recreated dot. Still dot, silent dot, waiting dot. I felt the urge dot, strong dot, to step forward dot, to end the tension dot, to let it settle dot, to stop resisting. It would be quiet there dot, no confusion dot, no exhaustion dot, no more wondering. Just stillness dot, belonging dot. The whisper softened to a single voice. Mine. You're tired. I closed my eyes, took one breath, then stepped fully backward into the elevator. The doors slammed shut instantly. The descent display glitched violently. 642GTHE. Elevator shot upward dot, fast dot, too fast dot. My stomach dropped. The hum turned into a screech. The lights went out. Then silence dot. The doors opened dot, lobby dot, bright dot, normal dot. The citrus scent had returned. Morning sunlight spilled through the glass doors. I stumbled out, turned around. The panel inside the elevator was ordinary again. G. Pone 114. No negative floors dot, no extra buttons. Just a normal elevator dot. People enter behind me, chatting casually, laughing, completely unaware. I checked the directory. 14 floors, that was it. Ran upstairs dot. The 11th floor hallway looked unchanged. Warm lighting dot, soft. Carpet dot, 2 doors. I froze dot, 2.11 A dot and 11B, 11B. At a doormat dot, black dot, headphones hanging from the handle. I stared at it for a long time. The door slowly creaked open. The man from 11B stepped out dot, pale dot, tired dot. He looked at me calmly. You stepped out, he said quietly. I couldn't speak. He glanced toward the elevator at the end of the hall, then back at me. It doesn't like when you ignore it. The elevator DINGED dot, soft dot, inviting dot. We both turned. The doors were open. The interior light dimmer than before. On the panel below, G, a single button dot, dash, one glowing dot, waiting dot. The man from 11B looked at me. Next time, he said, almost gently, don't go down. The doors began to close dot, slowly dot, as they sealed shut. I noticed something carved faintly into the metal panel beside them. A list of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, -5, -6, and beneath them, 7. It flickered once, then disappeared dot. The elevator descended without being called. I still live here. The building still has 14 floors dot, at least officially dot. But sometimes, late at night, When the hallway is quiet, I hear the ding, and I know it stopped somewhere it shouldn't. Between floors, waiting for someone new to get tired enough to step out.